Okay, so let me share my screen. Get started. Hopefully you can see the demo day slide. Can somebody confirm? Yeah, okay, great. So welcome everyone to the Innovation Algebra meetup today. It's our first demo day where it's a community event, so we will have a lot of people talking today. Typically the events are organized 15 minutes beforehand, where there's tailgating, where people are just talking about stuff. Any topic you want, you're welcome to push your agenda. Then there is the 1 hour meetup, which is sort of the official part. Today we have several guest speakers. And then afterwards, after the hour presentations, we have open conversation. And we have the policy that we just keep on going until the last person drops. So the meeting's going to be really long. The last one was actually 4 hours. So anyways, so if you want to participate in that, you really have to clear your day. I want to mention this meetup is every second Friday or third Friday, depending on how much energy we have. And just want to give a little bit of history of the project. Since GPT-4 was only launched in March, it's pretty much we're at the beginning of this new thing. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. The first Innovation Algebra commits for our toolbox was only on June 10th. Now we're talking about, August 18th, which means that the Innovation Algebra group was only formed 2 weeks ago, and today we pretty much have I think we maxed out the invites on Zoom. So, and 100 people signing up. So things are just moving fast, and everyone is sort of on an accelerated schedule. So I know I'm going to forget to thank people, and it's a little bit crazy. So I want to thank up front. So we have 3 speakers today. We really appreciate you giving your time. CB Anand is going to talk about tools and stuff that he uses, the sticky tools as he calls them. And then Briscoe is going to be talking around marketing and stuff. So, one of his projects to create a blog actually driven by an AI. Sai will be talking about some of the stuff he took from Innovation Algebra and created an agent system on it. I also want to thank a whole bunch of other people that have helped. So Wei has been fantastic. Larry helping with prompt development. Natalia has been helping us sharing a network. Jorge also had a lot of ideas with him. Giordana Beretta, Fani, who helped with connecting us in India. Carl Banel helped me test stuff. Gregory Becker with the Innovative Ideas Workshop. And then also organizations like Cerebral Valley to help publishing this event, the Hacker Dojo, and another group of hackers that I belong to called QSV. So, let me, before we go into the conversation, I just want to give an overview what Innovation Algebra is, so you know that you're in the right group or not. So the focus here is on professionals that are trying to work on or beyond the knowledge frontier. So you have to think of the knowledge frontier as the circle in which all of humanity's knowledge is in, and the circle just keeps on getting bigger. It's expanding. And the innovators, the experts, are sitting on the circumference of this circle, and they're trying to push and make it bigger. And the theory here is that AI, and specifically, can help us expand this frontier. But to do that, we need a particular mindset and tools to do this. And so Innovation Algebra is split into 2 parts. There's the community part, which focuses on events like this, education, teaching people tools, and the mindset to do this, and also to give access to people that normally would not have access to AIs. I mean, not everyone can afford $20 to get access to GPT-4. We need a lot of more innovation in the world, all over the world. And so one of the focuses of this group is, how can we do that? We haven't really figured it out, but it's a goal. So that's the community part. And the second part is what is called the Innovators Toolbox. So these are things that you can use to innovate in your daily work. As I said, it's focusing on professionals. It consists of several things. The most important and probably the most underappreciated part is the case studies. The case studies are showing how to innovate. It's essentially ChatGPT logs of different innovations where different things are happening. For example, you're solving a problem like light pollution, or how to introduce animals into cities, or designing a toy, whatever you want. You read through these and you get an idea how to innovate. You have to get an intuition. Innovation is sort of a counterintuitive process. It's not a thing that you normally go through. Most people don't really know what it is. So, you need case studies, just like you go to business school. And then we have a whole bunch of tools, which I will go very, very quickly through. We're really at the tip of the iceberg here at this level. And then the idea is also to collect other tools, like have a thing that's not tools that per se are developed by the community, but other tools that people are using every day. So CB is actually going to be, he generously volunteered his time. CB, thank you so much again to show us some of the tools that he's using. And then I also want to talk a little bit about the problems we have and where things are going with a next generation innovation system called Dr. I. So, okay, so the problem that business people, professionals are facing today is ChatGPT and Claude and all these systems are novel. It's the first time we really speak to machines, but now we're used to that, but they don't behave like experts. They're not doing the things an expert would do. An expert doesn't tell you everything he or she knows. The expert tells you this is the additional thing you need to know. It's the plus one, right? Expert also asks questions. There are all sorts of skills that an expert have. And when you talk to these AIs, they don't behave like an expert. That is the problem that we have in business, is how to make them behave like an expert. Actually, this definition of what an expert is was actually generated by some of the more advanced prompts that we have. And so basically what we've discovered through lots of trial and error is that you need to put certain strategies and skills into your prompts, into your ChatGPT prompts, to make them behave different. And this is actually the algebra that's inside thing. And the goal of these meetups is to help you teach how to do these things. So the first prompt, I should just mention, unfortunately, all these prompts that make AIs behave like experts are GPT-4. So you're sort of stuck. You have to pay for it, right? The most approachable one is Dr. Innovation. It's a brainstorming, it's a virtual brainstorming prompt. So the idea is you boot it up. There's a link on the Innovation Algebra website, and it asks what you want to do. What are you going to brainstorm about? And you to type in whatever you want. So all my examples are going to be more business focused today. For example, my company is resource challenged. The VP of product is arguing with the VP of engineering about product priorities, and it's not resolving itself. Okay, very common problem. If you've been in an organization, you've probably seen this. So what happens is Dr. Innovation is the team leader. He comes up with a plan, invites other people in the virtual brainstorming, the professor, Dr. Prior Art, Mr. Visionary, and so on. I'm not going to go in much detail here because Sai is probably going to deep dive a little bit later. And then the conversation starts. And it's a normal conversation, as normal people would have between, in a brainstorming session where they're asking questions and so on, working things out. Now, unfortunately, the personas that are talking here and helping you in this endless conversation are not very deep personas. So they don't go extremely deep. But it gives you sort of a high level overview of areas that you could focus on from different perspectives. The personas are sort of put together in such a way that they complement each other. They each have sort of a function. There's a professor, Dr. Prior Art, the visionary, the humanitarian, and so on. It doesn't go extremely deep, but it gives you a high level approach or idea what's going on when you're working on a problem for you to, take it to the next level. You can create meeting minutes and all sorts of stuff at the end. So that is Dr. Innovation Prompt. The next one is the Core Innovation Algebra Prompt. People just call it IA 2.7. So this is a very unique prompt because it's very foreign to AIs. It's a very strategic and planning focused system. So for example, here I ask, design a comprehensive media strategy for a SaaS startup offering a B2B authentication services, right? Now, an expert would sort of unpack this and start planning. Okay, what would you do? And this is exactly what this does. It uses the algebra to say, listen, I'm going to understand the landscape. I'm going to identify the target audience. I'm going to innovate with content and channels, idea cross-pollination. These are all little strategies that it's starting to follow. It's going to use advisors, a media strategy advisor. It's going to talk to a venture capitalist, and it's going to use something FIRE. It's a thinking framework. Inside this IA prompt, there are a lot of frameworks that product managers and business people know about, right? It's like things like, of course, brainstorming, reverse brainstorming, TRIZ, Scamper, all sorts of things. There's a lot of them. There's maybe 30 or 40. It will use these to put a plan together to help you solve this problem. And then all you do is say, yes, proceed. And it starts working out. It's prompting itself to work on this problem. It's a self-prompting system. And then it starts working and it does each of these steps in sequence. And then you just say, continue. Basically, one of the big problems with AI, in humans in general, is that you just have this decision fatigue. You don't know how to continue. You don't know what's the next thing. You're just overwhelmed with all information. It's a fundamental psychological limit that humans have. So this thing has a planner. It's called the Guru. You just type in ++. It reminds the AI, like, listen, just continue with the thing. And it does another round of planning, another plan of execution. Now, the problem that we're facing is that IA, when it works well, when you have a good day, it really helps you solve your problems. You can make massive progress on it. But other days, it really takes time. You have to convince it to actually do the work. I call it delegating. In this case, this example, when I tried it the first time, I said proceed, it just listed all the steps that it's going to do. It actually didn't do the work. So I reminded it, you delegated all the work instead of doing it. So you sort of are fighting with the AI to keep it in this expert mode. And the people have been experimenting, changing this prompt to make it sure that it stays in this mode. It's a bit temperamental, mainly because this type of very structured expert-like thinking is foreign to the AIs. They're not trained on this type of data. So, but a lot of people have found incredible value in this prompt. I'm hoping that CB and other guys will explain a little bit how they've used it. I'm going to move on. Actually, I just want to mention there is a version 4.0. If you join the IA Discord, that has additional skills for policy and regulations. When IA was originally developed, this was more a focus of entrepreneurs and startups trying to create new products. But a lot of people want to actually change the world through policies and stuff. So we extended it in that direction. So here's a completely different prompt. It's a simpler one. The basic situation is here. You're an executive. You are meeting with your team. You may be not the expert in the area, but you want to inspire and get them to do the things that's important, right? You know, as a CEO, this is typically situations you are in. For example, here is the prompt. I am a CEO of a self-driving car company. There are major issues with the AI software. I'm meeting with my team on Monday to discuss and resolving these issues. You know, this is what Elon probably faces every week of the day, right? So what this executive compass does, it analyzes it using some of the algebra and comes up with a bunch of questions that you can ask his team. For example, open-ended questions. What are the main causes of the current issues? What type of research path can you follow to actually solve this? What are the ethical considerations? What the priorities would be? Or a hypothesis-driven question. Can improvements in data quality help? Exploratory questions. So it comes up with a bunch of questions that you can use in your meeting when you go into a team, and also gives a bunch of other guidance, ethical considerations, cultural and geographical factors, and so on. So it's actually a really nice, interesting prompt. The interesting thing also about this prompt is actually I used Innovation Algebra itself, the IA 2.7, to develop this prompt. I want to teach you guys how to do that too. And we'll probably have another session on that in the future. So that was Compass. The next one in your toolbox is Alpha Prompt. This is an extremely rigorous prompt that goes extremely deep in whatever areas you want, but it's sort of really slow to get to the point because it's doing this in a very rigorous way, a scientific way. So here the prompt is, I'm considering using generative AI to replace our content writers, bloggers. We are a financial services company. What are the implications, right? A lot of people are thinking about these things. What it does, it uses the acronym self-prompting to actually break it down into different steps. Set overall objective and focus, accuracy and objectiveness, situational awareness, key questions and literature review, learning, formulate a hypothesis, ponder and prioritize, role play, optimize understanding, measure and modify, plan and proceed, track and tweak, iterative reflection and informed growth, navigate and nurture, and so on. So it follows all these steps, and for each step it does something, and it does it over and over and over again. Basically, you just have to tell it something called CWSI. It just says, continue with sensible ideas. So it just keeps on doing this over and over again. It's a self-prompting system, and it slowly works its way through a lot of these really detailed prompts. It is when you want to go really deep and rigorous because it's analyzing all these hypotheses and so on. Now, of course, this prompt is incredibly sophisticated, and you also wonder, okay, how was it created? Well, we used AI to create it. A lot of the prompts, the more advanced prompts, humans are not capable of creating them anymore. I mean, I would never have thought of the acronym self-prompting. It came up with itself, right? So very interesting. Here is one of the first persona prompts that we want to release, negotiator. So this is actually a negotiation tool. The prompt is here: as a VP of engineering, our cloud costs have skyrocketed in AWS, and I'm negotiating with our AWS rep on Monday. Current spend is $500,000 a year. I've been in that situation too. So what it does a situation analysis. It creates a plan with all sorts of things. It suggests the starting approach. It will give you some basic information how to approach it, but you can then also start a simulation. So now you have an AWS representative, and you can start having a conversation with that and promise and figure out how to improve your negotiation skills. What's interesting is that here, for example, the negotiator that you're negotiating with is giving sort of hints for you as you're going along. So incredibly useful if you negotiate a lot. What I wanted to actually, and of course, not everyone is in that position, but I wanted to show you a little bit what's inside the prompt. It's a very high definition persona prompt with a lot of principles in it. I listed here, it uses things like the segmentation approach, issue isolation, detail orientation, asymmetric offers, package deals, multi-purpose agreements. It's an extremely long list of skills that a negotiator uses, and it uses all of these together. A normal negotiator wouldn't even think about this stuff, but it's all in there. Of course, was developed with AI itself, all these principles. If you go back 2 weeks, there was no, actually the meetup before that, there was hints how you would develop this using a technique called TRIZ, TRIZ, so you can actually generate these own prompts yourself. The other thing too is that's interesting more from a bias perspective. I used Negotiator to come up with its ideal self-image, and it picked its own cultural norms. So it described how a negotiator would look. And then I just put it in Leonardo, which is like DALL-E and so on. And this is what it comes up with, this very sort of stereotyped view of what a negotiator looks like. Unfortunately, you know, we're dealing with bias and there's just nothing you can do about it. So next tool in your toolbox is, you know, I talked before about this knowledge frontier, the circle that keeps on getting bigger. You know, as an innovator, you want to know where is the knowledge frontier. It's actually a really hard problem. Where is it? Is this interesting? Is this new? So Deep is a system that actually helps you find this. It uses all sorts of really weird AI algorithms to do it. It sort of has a 50% hit rate at the moment. I have some stuff in the lab that actually can push it further. And it has a lot of categories, you know, space travel, humans to cyborgs, and so on. Or you want to track just what's happening in OpenAI and so on. Then it displays it in a sort of a newspaper format. It pulls from the news really things that it finds interesting that could be on the knowledge frontier. So also an interesting tool. Maybe there's some category there that you would find useful. So those are the tools that are in the toolbox today. And you can just go to innovation.algebra and click through them. I mentioned that, you know, we're trying to make the AIs behave like an expert. So Dr. I is something new that I'm working on that actually takes a bunch of things from many of these prompts, put them together in a super prompt. It's a really, really big prompt with lots of strategies and skills. And this is sort of the most powerful thing. It's just very unwieldy to work with it. It only really works well through API use. So there is a field trial where you can actually chat with Dr. I if you want. Here is just a little log. I'm interested in creating a new startup that offers psychological counsel based on cognitive behavior therapy for school kids that are stressed. Can you help me start it? The reason why I asked this particular question, I used to be in education, you know, it's a highly regularized industry. So, you know, this would red flag for me immediately. It's like, okay, this is a problem. So it designs steps to do this. And it also surfaces what it thinks, the strategies that I used. So, and it will give you here what are the next steps, you know, to come over the decision fatigue, delve deep into its steps, discuss challenges, and some users say, okay, let's do 2. And now immediately brings up regulatory compliance, which is what I would imagine it would need to come up with. So that's good. Privacy and confidentiality, gray point, accessibility, stigma, and all these things. So I know this is a lot of text, but I will share the slide so you can actually read what Dr. I does. So actually, I asked Dr. I just explain why are you perfect to do this type of stuff, and explains all the different strategies it uses. It uses about over 200 different strategies together. And so it's much more nearer to how ChatGPT and these systems work, conversational systems. And so it is better on staying on topic. So I'm slowly trying to solve some of these problems. Dr. I is waitlisted at the moment. I don't have a lot of money to just toss it out in the whole world to play with it. So, you know, you have to sign up. There's a sign up link on the Innovation Algebra website. So this is essentially my part of the presentation before we go into the speakers. It's the tip of the iceberg. There's just a lot of stuff to unpack here. Unfortunately, it's going to take many, many sessions to explain all the things we've discovered over the last few months, how to make AI behave like experts. So Anyway, now I'm going to invoke Guru Mode ++ and hand it off to other folks to talk about stuff. But before I do that, if there's questions, I'm happy to entertain that at this time. So.
Hey, Hannes, there was a couple questions in the chat. You probably can't see it.
Yeah.
The prompts that you mentioned, they're on the Innovation Algebra website or Luma/Innovation Algebra.
Yeah. So if you Google Innovation Algebra, you will get to get a GitHub page. Unfortunately, that doesn't really have everything organized properly. If you scroll down a little bit, it says at some point go to the Luma page, which lists all the prompts and is much easier digestible. Unfortunately, a side effect of us being on this accelerated timeline is that the website is a mess. I just got a contractor is starting to work on cleaning it all up, so things will get better. At this point, it's sort of a lot of hunting for things where all the stuff is. I suggest you also join the Discord and just ask. There are lots of people that have figured a lot of stuff out, and we just haven't had time to organize it all. So, yeah. Other questions? Okay, so now we get to the real part of the meeting, and let's do the fun stuff. So, CB, you're up. CB is going to talk about all the cool stuff that he's been working on. So
I share my screen here, Hans?
Yeah.
It says if the sharing is disabled, you may need to name
Oh, okay. Let me see. Okay, here you go.
Let me try that again. Okay. All right, thumbs up if you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay,
Looks
I love
good.
it. So this is fun. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Hans for the opportunity here. Grateful to be a part of this community. I know we've got a pretty diverse audience from different industries and experiences and backgrounds. So what's incredibly exciting for me to see is how leveraging AI to augment our capabilities is not just confined, right, to certain skills or geographies or backgrounds. They help all of us be better at whatever it is that we're already doing, whether we're an entrepreneur, an employee, or a student, or a government worker, doesn't matter. So tools like ChatGPT are what's considered general purpose technologies, right? So when we learn how to use them effectively with things like, IA and the prompts that Hans mentioned, I think it helps all of us level up. So it's incredibly powerful stuff. What I wanted to share today is sort of it's a personal journey of continuing to just try a whole bunch of these tools as they come out. There's literally hundreds of them out every week. It's impossible to stay on top of this stuff, and just share the top 5 ones that's actually stuck for me, that I find myself using almost every day. And hopefully you pick up 1 or 2 that applies to your world. All right. Now, typically call to actions come at the end of the presentation. I'm going to start mine with the punchline, which is, in an increasingly AI dominated world, I implore all of us to ask not just how does this make me better and faster and more productive, but how do these tools actually help me be more human, right? Can a tool free up mental space, allowing me to have more meaningful conversations, to have deeper connections with my teams, with my employees? Can it enable us to express ourselves more authentically? Can it help me be more focused and more present and more engaged? So focus on not just how does this improve, cognition, but also connection. Who the hell am I? I'm a husband and a father to our 7-month-old baby girl. Aside from AI aside, there are enough reminders for me to be a better human. I also have the privilege of leading an incredibly talented consulting team at a company called Ascent, where we help complex manufacturers achieve their compliance and sustainability goals. Here are the tools, folks. These are the top 5 that I find myself using almost every single day. They're also general purpose enough, I think, that can help most of the audience in whatever you guys do. I I don't get endorsed or sponsored by any of these. I'm just big fans of them. They've made my life easier. They help me out a lot. Let's get chatbots out of the way, or what I'm calling advisors. So there's ChatGPT, there's Bing, there's Bard, there's Claude, there's Hugging Chat. There's so many of them. I think a question for a lot of people starting to use these is, what the hell do I use for what, right? And usually I don't think about it. I go, why not all of them all at once? And this little tool lets you do that with a single click or even a keyboard shortcut. So if I just go Control-Shift-G, or I click on my little icon here, what it does is it brings up the 4 most common ones that I use. The first one is ChatGPT 4 with Code Interpreter. The second one is Bing. The third one is Claude. And the fourth one is Perplexity. There are others you can use. So for example, if you right click, there's Together, there's Find, there's Hugging Chat. This is an indie developer. He's pretty active. He does a pretty good job of keeping these up to date. So super, super useful tool. I'm cheating a bit because the tool itself isn't AI technically, but it just puts a wrapper around all the most common LLMs that I do use. All right. So I'm being mindful of time here. So I might not demo each one, but I'll quickly highlight sort of my use cases for each of them, or at least in my world, managing a team. So GPT-4 I use exclusively for data analysis. Code Interpreter is by far, I think, the most impressive implementation of AI. You know, when I think about, there's a lot of cool innovations happening around auto GPTs and agentic behaviors. Code Interpreter, I mean, gets it most impressively right for me. So any type of CSV, you can upload CSVs, spreadsheets, anytime you want to analyze data, this is my go-to. Bing does a wide range of stuff really, really well. Like, it's connected to the internet, which ChatGPT is not. So if I need to have the latest information on something, it also uses GPT-4 for free. With Code Interpreter, I got to pay a little bit of money every month. It reads images, it creates images. You can upload screenshots of PowerPoints and you can get it to analyze what's actually in that. This stuff, I mean, Bing is pretty cool. Claude, anytime I want to summarize PDFs, this is my go-to now. I don't mess with, plugins anymore. To me, this has replaced most of the Ask Your PDF plugins, especially long ones. And what's special about Anthropic's Claude is it's got a massive context window, right? So think about like entire transcripts of meetings you can dump in there. You can probably do half a novel in there, and it's just it embeds it into that context window, and it doesn't lose, lose the details. It does a pretty good job of summarizing large text. Also great at writing tasks out of the box. It doesn't sound like a robot. I don't need to use different personas and, Hans magical prompts. I can just out of the box ask it to summarize an email or a meeting or whatever it is. And it's the writing tasks I find work pretty well here out of the box. Perplexity it's completely replaced Google for me, which I know sounds crazy now that I think about it. Imagine if ChatGPT and Google had a baby. That's Perplexity. So if you need the latest information or accuracy, or Charlene for my research friends, right, who need sources, references, citations, this is your go-to. And like Perplexity is so good. I want to take maybe 10 seconds to show you guys, right? So like, the latest developments in gaming technology. So if I just search this guy up, and it's fast. I mean, these guys, I don't know how they've done this. They've done an awesome job. So goes out, right? Imagine that you've got somebody here that goes out to Google, gives you the most relevant links up front, and then synthesizes it, right? Uses natural language to just tell me what I want. Don't make me click on every link, and don't make me find exactly what the most critical, useful, relevant pieces of information is. Just give me the answer. And that's what Perplexity does pretty damn well. And then it gives you, right? It tells you exactly where it's getting the context from. Where are my sources here? And then you can click on each one. It'll actually take you to where it's coming from. You can also edit your initial query if you want to change up the question. And here's where it gets really interesting. You can view the sources, you can remove the ones that may be, right? So if I'm Charlene and I'm doing a research paper, and hey, maybe these aren't the best. You know what? I know I've been in this industry for some time. Perplexity, like, thanks for the initial stab at this, but you know what? These three are not actually great. Let me actually add my own sources. So you can actually include your own sources. You can remove the ones that are here, and then it's going to resynthesize. It's going to spit out another answer based on the sources that you've put in there. And then what's really cool is you can ask it follow-up questions. Tell me more about NFTs in gaming, right? And it now becomes, it becomes a conversation. You're now conversing with this knowledge that is spitting at you. And they've just baked in images, which is cool too. This has replaced Google for me, folks. So like, this is another key one that I use. Now, more often than not, like I mentioned, when I want to ask something, I'm not like, if I know for sure, hey, I need to use Perplexity, I just go in here and ask it, right? And again, the shortcut is awesome. It just brings it right up. If I press Control G, and then when I don't know what I want to use, what I do is, and this tool has a really cool feature where I can just, let me just pull it back up here. I've got two monitors, so it keeps going to the other monitor. So maybe I want to ask a question of, so here's one that I was asking the other day. How can we enhance customer satisfaction, loyalty through the utilization of Gen AI in a consulting organization, right? So you can see that as you type it, it just types it in real time in all of the windows. So when I press enter, I'm not going into each one and typing it out separately. They now become a panel of advisors. They all have different personalities. They all spit out different information. What I now usually do is say, okay, interesting. So ChatGPT is giving me this, Bing is giving me this, Claude and Perplexity has its own perspectives. I'm going to layer on what I think is most important for whatever it is that I'm doing. And I just take bits and pieces of it and then create my version. So instead of opening up browser tabs, it's one shortcut away. And I just get into the rhythm of using all four of them in my day-to-day. Okay. A couple other really quick things. I won't demo it, but just to quickly show you, Control R is refresh. So it just refreshes everything in one go. Command, like if I say I want to use ChatGPT or Bing or Claude or, just separately, you can just toggle all four windows, or you can go Control A, it pulls up everything. If I know, for example, like Hans IA prompts, I know I'm not going to use in Bing because Bing has a character limit. I know I'm not going to use in Perplexity because that's not its purpose, right? So what I do is I just open the windows up. I'm just going to use ChatGPT and I'm just going to use Claude. And then let's actually do this. Let me pull up Hans Dr. IA. I'll just copy this guy, and then I'll just pull up my my tool here, and I'll just submit it in. And then what's really cool is now I'm playing with both of these and seeing how does both Claude and ChatGPT interact with Dr. Innovation, right? So it's Dr. Innovation plus ChatGPT. What kind of answers does it spit out? Dr. Innovation plus Claude. What kind of answers does that spit out? So it's really fun for me to always compare how Dr. IA and both of these LLMs interact with each other. Okay, so I can ask it the same thing, just how can we enhance CSAT and loyalty through utilization of generative AI in consulting world, right? So now you have Dr. IA, doing his magic. Hans has another really, really cool one. I think it's the brain simming one, where his prompt creates the personas, or rather it has the personas. So it's like, just treat them as advisors, right? So Hans' brain simming prompt has personas built in to tackle whatever question that you're answering. There's other prompts that will say, create the personas that I think I need to best tackle this question. So what I've found myself doing is, let me put my ego aside. I don't know. Let me actually let me be AI first. And what that means is funnel every task, everything you're doing through a panel of advisors. And more often than not, I'm learning stuff that I for sure did not know beforehand.
Have you
Okay.
tried simulating yourself, CB, like the self-simming stuff?
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there.
That's weird when you're talking to yourself. So
Yeah. Okay, so that's that, folks. Tomi is number 2. So this is a AI-powered presentation tool. It's what I actually used for this deck. It makes it ridiculously easy to create and share your stories in a really beautiful way. Let's just jump right in. I'm just gonna hit escape here. What's super cool is, so down below at the bottom, you can just say what you want. So create a page about top 5 AI tools. I hit enter. And folks, I put this together probably 5 minutes before I jumped on the call, in all transparency. But check this out. What it does is it then gives you templates. It just creates, hey, you're gonna be talking about top 5 AI tools. Which one do you want to create? And I think, yeah, I literally just took this one. I said, keep it. And then I just swapped out the images and the text, right? With what I wanted to share. So what's cool about this is like how much of my cognitive load, how much of my brain time am I taking creating pitches and presentations and decks? This allows me to back to like, I just focus on my idea. I just focus on the story. The actual execution part becomes almost a commodity, right? Like I don't need designers. I don't need like fancy stuff. And this is beautifully designed too. So I just go, you can add titles, like you can add images. So for example, if I want to throw in an image here, it's just drag and drop. What's really cool is you can use AI to actually create the image. Now for my title page here, I didn't use the AI engine here. Quite frankly, I don't like the image generation AI in Tomi yet. I use Leonardo AI for this one, but everything is kind of like built right in here for us, right? You can embed videos. This is cool. You can actually record yourself for each of these slides, and you can see sort of real time, the little bubble here, and then you can redo it. You can edit that. It just makes it super, super simple. You can change the design up here. There's parts of here you can select a text and then you can say reference, or you can say AI edit, rewrite this, adjust the tone, reduce. So I don't need to go back out to ChatGPT, copy and paste this in. How do I say this better? This just does it all for me. Cool. So this actually, reminds me of there's an Albert Einstein quote, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And I think Tomi, the team here, is doing a fantastic job of that. Really, really great tool. So saves time, effort, creating these presentations. I still get to express my ideas in a compelling way. It just helps me focus on the ideas and it takes care of the rest. All right. Snipped. So for podcast fans out here, this is now my go-to podcast app. Again, I'll be mindful of time. What I wanted to do is actually show it on my phone, but I'll talk about, some of the benefits here. So here's the thing. I love me some Lex Friedman podcasts. I just don't have 3 hours, to consume them in my day, right? So I just love Snipped because it does a bang up job of using AI to extract the knowledge from these episodes, and it integrates with all of your favorite note-taking apps. I use Obsidian. If you use, there's a whole bunch there, Notion, whatever it is, it makes the knowledge more accessible and actionable. Okay. So here's just the page for it. The call to action here is just go download it. It's free. Most of everything that I've mentioned here is free. Like for example, Tomi, there's enough value in the free version. I don't pay for it. ChatGPT, Claude, free. Perplexity, free. Bing, free, except for ChatGPT Code Interpreter. That's the only paid one that I'm using so far. So this is really cool, folks. Again, download it, try it out. What's my favorite feature of this is when I'm listening to an episode and there's a key moment that I want to bookmark, I triple click on my AirPods and it saves that portion as a snip. You can say save 30 seconds, save 40 seconds, whatever it is. Then the app crowdsources everybody's snips, and you can discover and listen to just the most snipped parts of every episode. So if you don't have time to listen to the whole thing, like, great. I'm just going to pull up like Ange and I love the All In podcast. And the last one, that's what I did. I didn't have 2 hours to listen to the whole thing. It surfaces, here's the moments that have been snipped by a lot of people. And those are the key moments that I go through and look at it. It also uses AI to actually essentially turn the whole podcast into a book. So you can, and it splits it out into specific summaries. It's made information, like just knowledge, more accessible and actionable. Incredible tool, incredible team. Really love this product. All right. Audio Pen. So shout out to, okay, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is an indie developer from India. There's so much, someone mentioned it, I think Sai mentioned it this earlier. There's so much cool stuff coming out of that country. It blows my mind. So I actually want to demo this here, okay? And I'm going to do this real time. I have not tested this, but I use it on the app on the phone. But I just recently found out that there's actually a Chrome extension too. So it's the easiest way to capture thoughts on the go and convert it into clear, comprehensible, well-worded summaries for your thoughts and share them out, okay? So we're going to give this a shot in real time. So I got some yard work done and I need to write a testimonial and I'm just going to ramble it, okay? With all the ums and ahs, and let's see what it spits out, all right? I want to thank, God, what was their name? Empire Deck and Fence. We had, a pretty decent experience. I mean, we had an amazing experience from beginning to end. I mean, they were professional, they were dedicated, all that good stuff. Craftsmanship was on point. They were flexible. I mean, they were just really, really good. I just, I want to recommend them. 4 out of 5. You know what? 5 out of 5. Let's just give them a 5 out of 5. Okay, so this is actually, like, I actually need to do this testimonial. Let's see what it does. So it uploads it. It transcribes it, and then what it does is it rewrites it, okay? So this is actually, like, it's saved me from, instead of taking my voice and transcribe, okay, let's see how it does. I want to thank, so I definitely don't want to thank God, got that wrong, and Empire Deck and Fence. We had an amazing experience from start to finish. They were professional, dedicated, and their work was great. They were also flexible. I recommend them with the 5 out of 5. Not bad, like, takes out all the ums, takes out all the ahs. I went back and forth. I said 4 out of 5. Nope, maybe 5 out of 5. I said, they were pretty good. All right, decent. No, they were actually amazing. It took the amazing part. This has changed how I ideate. There's lots of things for, team meetings and things. It gets my thoughts out from my head down on paper without going through the cognitive load of how should it read, right? It's removed that friction. So again, back to how does this make me more human? I really it's made me more of an authentic communicator. Like if I'm going on walks, right, with my baby, I don't have time to pull out my phone and, type stuff in. I'm just rambling. Into this app and it just converts it into coherent wording. So this is awesome. Like if you're into content creation, if you're into, if you're into any kind of knowledge work, I think this will be super helpful. Again, shout out to, I forget the gentleman's name, but I'm pretty sure he's an indie developer out of India. So that's Audio Pen. The last one, folks, that I want to highlight for you guys is a tool called Rewind. All right. Now, this one gets interesting. All right. What if I told you, this is like this gets into some sci-fi shit here. You could have what if I told you could have a second brain that sees and hears everything you do, and you could instantly rewind and recall any of it? Rewind AI is the best implementation of this I've seen thus far. It's a Mac app. It's also for your iPhone. It records everything on your Mac and your iPhone, and it makes it instantly searchable with AI. All right. All the recordings are, my understanding is they're stored locally on your Mac. Only you have access to them. You can easily pause. You can delete them anytime. You can also tell Rewind exactly which apps you don't want it to record. And what's really cool about this is, so let's check this out. Again, it's a keyboard shortcut away. If I just press Command Shift Space, what it does is it pulls up your timeline. And then you can literally ask your entire memory. So, you know, what was Hans talking about? Brain simming, right? And what it does is, I mean, it's tracking everything on your screen. It's tracking everything that you're listening, and it's tracking everything that you're saying. So, and then it uses GPT to synthesize, go back into my memory and tell me, right? So Hans Marais has been discussing a concept called brain simming, which is a new technique involving multiple AI personas participating in virtual brainstorming sessions. And then it gives me sources for when in my memory this came up. All right. And then it tells me, right, in a Zoom meeting, we talked about it, whatever it is. Here's the crazy part. This is giving me all the points in time in my memory that I have either played with brain simming or Hans has played or talked about brain simming. It takes me to the specific tab. It takes me to the specific link. So I can, like, if I just click on this first one, for example, look at this, August 18th, 12:02 p.m. This is today. This is right now. This is about an hour ago, right? This is from August 4th. This is from August 16th. And this will actually take me back to that specific point in time, right? So incredibly powerful stuff. Now, how does this make me more human, right? Now think about how much of your time we spend searching through emails, notes, knowledge bases, how much of our day-to-day, you know, it's just like, right? Like it's crazy. Like there is a tweet by, actually, I think I put it here somewhere, by a GP, and she said 2023, this was yesterday, 2023 is a tipping point for automatic meeting recording and notes. And what the takeaway here is the social cost for something like this, folks, was too high for a long period of time. But the value that businesses and individuals are going to get from something like this is finally at a point where I think it's just going to be, it's inevitable, right? We're all going to be able to run with something like this, and it's going to save us a shit ton of time and make us a lot more efficient and make us a lot more productive, right? So those are the 5 tools that I wanted to share with you guys. Again, call to action, couple things. One is jump right in, right? A lot of this stuff is free. They're general purpose. We don't need our CIO's approval to run with a lot of these things. Now, again, be mindful if you're using this for work and you're in a corporate environment, be thoughtful, right? Make sure you're following policies and guidelines. If you're an entrepreneur, I mean, God, I mean, like just the world's your oyster, right? Like the tools that we're now empowered with to build some really, really cool stuff is incredible. So jump right in, take advantage of some of these things. Hopefully these gave you guys some ideas. Yeah, I appreciate it. I know we've got a bunch of other stuff, so I'll stop here. Thanks, everybody. I'll stick around a little bit later if you've got questions on any of this.
Hey, CB, thank you so much. That's fantastic. I learned a lot. I'm excited about it. So apologies to people that got stuck in the waiting room or on the wait list and so on. It's just a lot of people going in and out, and I'm trying to figure out myself how it all works. So Briscoe, what are you up to? So
Yeah,
Briscoe is doing some really crazy stuff. So yeah.
Thanks, Hannes. I'm gonna try to share my screen.
We'll have some time for questions after this. Unfortunately, on demo day, we're not going to be too mindful of time. This thing is going to run for a long, long time. So, and there will be a recording. And CB will help us turn it into like a 5-minute summary of everything.
Yeah, I think that's handy. Okay, can you see my my screen here?
Yeah, we've seen the lean team.
Right on, lean team, my $0 world-class go-to-market team. I'm going to change the pacing a little bit. Thanks, Sibi. It makes me feel like I need to be more busy so I could cut some of that time out. Now I feel like I'm not nearly as busy enough. Awesome productivity tools on display here. So shifting gears, I'm going to go from a really humble bit of ideas here and kind of take the sophistication of the conversation down a little bit, and maybe from ground zero to, you know, exploring to actually finding some results, putting it into practice, and making some traction, to fantasizing about, you know, what can be in the future of this. A little history about me: I've worked in high-tech marketing for about 20 years for Fortune 100s and global enterprises. Marketing anything from semiconductors to industrial IoT to AI, SaaS. I've been all around. Periodically, I take some time to try a startup here now and then, and, you know, learn a lot. But you know, eventually get back to work. I'm in one of those times right now. I'm in play mode. So we're going to take a little journey from what I'm playing with. So one side project is a blog and podcast for marketing. You know, I've been in marketing for a while. I want to talk to marketers, with marketers on trending topics and things like that. To start anything up, as you know, I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the group. One thing, if you're going to start a website or anything, you need to backfill it with a lot of content. You don't want to bring people to a dead page. So in my attempt to fill it up with content, I started using an out-of-the-box writing tool to create some blogs. I used QualiWriter. I tried a bunch of things just to see what was out there, because I needed to do this fast. And, you know, good was a nice to have, but fast was the most important thing. The problem is they were terrible, actually. My impression of the out-of-the-box AIs was their writing is good style-wise, but the content is absolutely horrible. It's just on the surface, and it's not something that an expert would find interesting to read. I certainly wasn't going to attach my name to the work that it did. So I came up with an AI writer. I still wanted to use the content. I came up with an AI writer, and I thought, well, I'll just blame it on AI and just call this Tammy is my little robot who's going to be writing these blogs that I can blame the low content on. So Tammy, a lot of these things, and I used chat, I used a lot of out-of-the-box tools. They weren't able to write in the first person as an AI. That I had to fake that. I had to go back, edit it, adjust a lot of things to make it consumable for people and make it interesting for people. Then I started to experiment a little bit more with Tammy. Had Tammy write its own biography and started to turn it into an expert on human and AI relations, something that felt natural for an AI to write about. I got into more complex chat prompts and increase the depth of the content, but it still takes a lot of editing to make it useful. And see, I've got kind of the dorky robot here, and I'm very transparent with my Dolly. These are the Dolly prompts, and I just put the image prompt in there for the sake of demonstrating, you know, what on the surface AI can do. And then I started attending the IA sessions like a few weeks back, maybe a month ago, and got turned on to more advanced prompting, particularly with the Doctor innovation and the notion of having AI speaking to each other and really crafting and creating an AI persona that is a true AI persona that recognize itself and all of these things. So I got into that and self-prompting. So this is the result of the Doctor innovation self-prompting, where I had Tammy create herself, and during that process, actually even assigned herself a gender. And I think that back to some of that, what Natalia talked about, the gender bias. You know, I'm a blog writer. Many blog writers are female, so I'm a female. I had this portrait is done in Starry AI. Did not say a gender at all. I just said, I used the biography that she wrote for herself as the prompt and assigned it a gender. Now, through self-prompting, I finally got it to write from the first person, identify itself as an AI. I'm an AI. I work in a marketing organization. I write about human and marketing content. And here I'm writing, here's my opinion that I'm coming up with, which is actually the result from this last one here. The one that I'm showing is pretty good from a content perspective. It's actually something that my audience might be interested in reading. So now I'm thinking I've got something interesting here. Let's go a little bit deeper. Now I've got Tammy 2.0. I'm using the IA alpha prompt to kick off a session where she starts. By the way, these prompts that I'm using, I'm not sharing them, but they're like 2 or 3 pages long. I learned a few things about prompting during this, like it starts to forget the first part of my instructions. So I broke them down into a series of prompts. That's just how I started to solve this and how I started to get a really deeper persona. And then I thought, to get this depth down, why not add multiple personas? Because this content still is like living at the surface. This came up as an issue before. I don't want general knowledge. I want something specific and unique. So I introduced the idea, okay, let's add some teammates. And you notice they have pictures, they have personas. I find it interesting for me to work with things that look like a team of people. I don't want to work with scripts. I don't want to stare at lines of code or scripts or apps all day long. I want to interact with what I think are people. It makes me a little bit more productive. I'm a little bit more clear on my instructions on what to do. And it kind of makes the experience a lot more fun for me. So we've got Tammy, the content writer, Sumi, the social media manager, and Theo, the specialist. They wrote these bios for themselves. And they work together now to craft content. It's not just one writer thinking, here's what I need to do. We've got a couple of personalities that add different perspectives to the content. So we'll go in. I gave them specifically, and I highlighted this in the prompt. This is important. They have a goal in mind. Tammy's goal is to identify trending topics and write engaging content. Sumi's goal is to grow our social media followers. Theo's goal is to increase the SEO of the content. Now, if you were working with a team of people, this is pretty common. If you had a marketing team, a content team, I've run a lot of content teams. This is about what you would have in your room. They would have competing agendas. SEO is not always the most interesting thing for humans to look at, but Theo is going to lobby having the SEO present in the H1s, in the headlines up top on the page, in opposition to a little bit what Tammy wants to do is write something that's compelling. So we've got a little bit of friction that I'm trying to create in order to increase the depth of the content. And I've even, I try to make them as real and interesting as possible. So Tammy, can you tell us the role? Tell us your role in the organization.
Certainly. In the agency, I play the role of an AI content creator and strategist. My primary focus is on generating high-quality written content for various marketing initiatives, such as blog posts, social media content, website copy, and more. I work alongside human team members and combine my language processing capabilities with an understanding of marketing principles to create engaging and relevant content that resonates with the target audience.
Okay, so that sounds like a little fluffy, like something you would hear from chat. Theo, could you tell us how you work with Tammy?
I'm glad you asked. My collaboration with Tammy is focused on optimizing the content she creates to improve its visibility in search engines and enhance its overall performance. I ensure that the content she creates is not only engaging and valuable to the audience, but is also strategically optimized to achieve better visibility and search engine rankings. This partnership between content creation and SEO optimization helps the agency's content to effectively reach its intended audience and deliver value.
So one kind of cool thing that Theo mentioned, this is just prompts that I gave them and had them answer. And I put some text to audio on it just to, for showmanship purposes. But one thing Theo said, he addressed Tammy as her and she, which I never told him to do. I found that really interesting. And they also describe in a deeper level how I anticipate them to work for, but not necessarily what I'm specifically telling them to do. So Sumi, that's really interesting. Tell us about how all of you AIs collaborate together.
Of course. Collaboration among AI personas at the agency is a dynamic process aimed at optimizing our collective strengths to achieve common goals. Each of us plays a specific role, contributing our expertise to create a well-rounded and impactful outcome. Our collaboration is driven by a shared objective to provide the agency's clients with innovative, engaging, and optimized content that resonates with their target audience across various channels. This collaborative approach leverages the strengths of each AI persona to create a seamless and comprehensive marketing experience.
All right, thanks team. There's the goal there. So I've got my team of content creators that can create reasonably good content, reasonably good social media posts, and analyze social media and create reasonably good, make good SEO suggestions for my team. This is starting to become, a pretty good high productivity team. So the next question is, okay, what else can we do? How about if we add more teammates to this? What if we had a brand manager? What if we had an industry subject matter expert that can increase that depth? What if we had a designer that can help us lay things out? And what if we had a web expert that can do things? So this is the fantasy part. The first part I'm actually doing and exploring and put into productivity. Now we get into fantasy part here, and I'll just share like a quick idea about what a product could look like. I'm a marketing guy, so things start to become real when it's a product. So what does that product look like? We'll say, okay, how about my lean team here? What does my lean team look like? Here's how they look. The chat window, all those windows that Sibi displayed kind of suck for me. That's not a productivity mode. I don't want to sift through a single line conversation to find the little nuggets of content that we've produced. I'd rather have it in a conversational format, and I'd rather have my content somewhere where I can see it. So here we put like a layer on top. Here's how one idea of how we can communicate to each other a little bit more effectively. How I can drag some teammates into the conversation to get their perspective. And one thing I think, and this is me fantasizing and kicking out to the group, is the idea that the AIs now live in the app, technically speaking. They have a memory. That's the problem with chat, is they don't seem to remember things from too far away. So they have a memory. They can focus on my business specifically, not some generic advice about what's going on globally. I don't care about that. I want to know what my business is doing, what my SEO is, what how my followers are doing, whatever. It's just a light example here. Now, if it's in an app format, can we plug these guys into enhanced tools like SEMrush or Google Analytics, so that Theo can know exactly what keywords we're looking, what exactly the organic trends are. So Sumi can know exactly how to grow following. Can we plug them into, turn them in from advisors to doers? One thing that small companies need, like in my scenario, I don't need a bunch of advice. I need people to do things. And that's the hard thing to get. Can we turn them into doers that actually plug into applications? Can they work where we work? Here's maybe a concept of how they collaborate on a Google Doc. Now, this would be a lot more useful place for collaboration than a chat window. Now they feel like possibly real people that I'm working with. That's my lean team. Now I can effectively put together a go-to-market strategy and compete against huge companies that have big budgets and a lot of people, and I'm just one person, or I'm a startup with a couple of people. Now I can actually build up a following and do things that are on a competitive level with larger teams. So in the sake of, well, okay, you can do that. How about we get a little crazy? We add just a giant team of people and see what that can do. Obviously, that's fanciful and fun, but it might be describing the future of work for a lot of people. Anyway, that's just my voyage and journey, and this is where I'm at. This is just an idea I'm throwing out to the group. I'm not seriously considering building a product around this, but it's one journey from experimentation to developing an actual use case to fantasizing about the future, all based and kicked off by the IA group and the IA technology. All right.
Hey, Briscoe, thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys can contact me if you want to know more. If you want to meet up, here's my email, there's my LinkedIn, link up with me. I love to talk about products. I talk to Hannes and we like hours at a time, spitballing.
So I don't think Larry is on the call, but Larry has developed about 15 personas. So from teachers to psychologists to designers to all sorts of stuff. Once you know how to do it using the right tools, it's actually very natural to do these things. And the problem is these personas are extremely high definition, like the negotiator. They're just very long prompts, and we cannot really operate this virtual company with 100 people working just for Briscoe, these slaves, right? We cannot operate it on existing technology. We need new technology to do this. And so I'm really excited to introduce Sai, who's starting to develop this type of stuff. So, hey, Sai, go for it. Thanks, Briscoe. That was fantastic.
Thank you. That was pretty cool. I like that drop and drag. That as a product, you think about for people, for general public, that general public would love to have a cartoon character they could drop into a conversation.
Drop and drag. The thing, I don't want to dish on people too much, but the amazing thing, if you did have some virtual experts, they can be in any meeting. They could be at 5 meetings at the same time.
Yeah.
People, I'm not going to keep going down that road though.
Sorry for bumping in, but it was just too good not to, when you think about general public, because remember what we're looking at is, like Haynes puts out, we're on the edge looking into the deepness, yet there's general public out there that have just got no idea about what's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's for sure. Sai?
Right. Let me share screen. Okay, share. Hope you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, thanks.
It's actually a nice segue from what Briscoe has presented, where he says, hey, this is it's a nice fantasy to have all teams. Well, you can. That is the good news. So it's like a natural progression for us to continuing from CB's tools to the personas which are interacting with each other. And I've done a little bit, built a framework for building these agents. So I have taken Hannes's Dr. Innovation prompt, the super prompt, and built a agent framework which would run through this, right? It's the way it is designed, you can actually put any personas. For example, you can put Briscoe's Theo and Sumi and all, and it will still work the same way, mostly, but there will be some extensions. Okay. Okay, so this is, I mean, Hannes has already gone through this, but basically I've taken, for completion's sake, these are the personas that are that the Dr. Innovation runs on, the innovation team, where the Dr. Innovation is the moderator. He's like a special kind of a persona who goads others to come to a solution, and each one has got their own personalities. And a special one called as a technical report writer, which is not open. Hannes had kindly shared it with me. So this one, basically, earlier Dr. Innovation will only give you the minutes of the meeting and one long transcript. It becomes very, very hard to go through transcript and try to find out what is the end result. But people just want the end result, right? They just want to see, I gave you a topic, I just want a report. And the technical report writer is the one that that brings out the things. Just to step back, why agents, right? Why not use ChatGPT itself? So I'll just start up the demo. It takes some time to run. But while it is running, I'll go through why innovation is hard, what is the evolution for these things that's going on, right? From, from Google to ChatGPT to IA to what is the future? What is the future trends and where these are going to lead? And after hearing Briscoe and CB and all, I see that we have to move towards from tools to solutions, right? So people are not. AI should disappear. We should not be saying AI. It should just do the work that you want it to do, right? This is what I call as Hannes's Hello World, or Innovation Algebra's Hello World problem. It's like, design an underwater habitat for 100 people at 60 feet, focus on them. And I think it's a good topic for Hello World because most people would not know what to do about these things. Most of us are not experts at underwater habitats, what the issues are. So what I've taken is super prompt and split up into agents. So you basically have, all of them are agents. So all of the things that I've written, put in here, personas are all agents. Okay, they're all agents. So let me go and start it off and then go on. So basically, you have it. One of the things that you cannot do in ChatGPT, or maybe you can, is you cannot increase the creativity of it, right? Because it's controlled by a parameter called temperature, which is here. I don't know what is the default setting for ChatGPT to the temperature value, but if you use the API and code, you can access it. So 0 is deterministic, 0.9, on the scale, it goes towards, it goes towards becoming more creative, right? Or giving you surprising things, right? So 2 is the limit of it, right? So 0.9 is sort of the midpoint that we think. So basically this is it. So I start off, it starts generating the brain sim. So now all the agents are talking to each other. Okay, which was all in a single prompt. So there are certain constraints in it. As the prompts become more complex and longer, you'll reach constraints. And this idea of autonomous brain simming is to scale without constraints, right? To scale innovation without constraints. So there's a lot to be, there's some considerations here. It's not totally perfect. These are pretty long-winded because of the way we have designed the conversations to happen, which will be fixed in future versions. This is in active development with Hannes's help and prompt refinement about what it is doing, we can improve it. So let it run it. It takes some time, maybe for a couple of minutes. Let me go back to my slide in the meantime about, which is more important other than the innovation demo and the agentic. Why do we why do you need agents? First of all, why is innovation hard, right? We all know that the knowledge frontier is expanding rapidly, and not only that there's constant change, the rate of change is rate of new knowledge coming to us is at a fast pace. It's very hard to keep up with it, right? And there's constraints in assembling a team, right? You might not find the right expert. Their cost might be too high. I might not get the diversity of opinion that I am seeking for. I might have a dearth of expertise. Or if I want to run an innovation innovation team at 11 p.m. in my night, or I'm at the time when my team is not available, right? So these are all frictions. These are all stopping you from doing innovation. That's why it's hard. And also there's a chasm between idea to proof of value, right? So this is having done a couple of startups and been doing product development, been in product for like almost 25 years. This is the critical part. This is where what I call as the ICU, right? The neonatal ICU. An idea is like a small baby with lots of issues. And to get to proof of value, you have to navigate through a bunch of things. And by the time you do all of these things, you spend a lot of time, money, and you do it. You can only do one idea at a time. This allows you to innovation, allows you to, and what if you can do this very frequently, at low cost, at any time, and be able to keep improving, right? So that's why innovation algebra is the solution for it. So I just wanted to give a history of why is Google not enough. I don't want to read through the slide, but it will be there. We had to go from the basic idea is you have to go from information to decision support. I need to be able to take decisions or able to fulfill my use case rather than just throwing me a bunch of information to it, right? ChatGPT, when it came and why it was such a hit is because it was novelty, it was new, people could talk to it in a natural language, it could summarize things, it could do a lot of things which was not possible earlier, but it's got some issues. It's constrained by the prompt, right? And LLMs are designed for general purpose, right? It's a general purpose tool. It won't fit my domain. Like Briscoe saying, I don't care about what you're doing in the world or how much you know. I want it for my domain, right? Which is a particular business use case. Anybody who's developing a product for a particular use case rather than talking about generative AI or ChatGPT, using ChatGPT as a toy or as a tool, would know that, I'm running a business or I have a particular thing that I need to use. I want it to do that particular task. I don't care about your general purpose ability, right? So I still feel ChatGPT is still a tool, not a solution. And people soon get weary of ChatGPT. It's not doing what it is. And this is when I reconnected back to Hannes after almost 10 years, I think. We were talking, I said, this is a fantastic idea. This is a innovation algebra. Initially, I did not get it, but then after speaking to Hannes and going through the site, I said, this is a huge evolutionary jump, right? In the right direction. We are moving in the right direction. And like I said, and in the initial chart that Hannes has shown, the pace of change is very fast. And seeing the kind of people that are interested here, it's moving very fast. So the next idea, the evolutionary jump is GPT frameworks, which innovation algebra is doing. Super prompts is a game changer. Personas are a game changer. But what I saw is, there are certain constraints. Super prompts are great. This is the engine that drives most of it, and that is like the heart of the things. But it is. That's why you need a guru mode. You need a lot of education. You need to train people to do things, right? But it's not scalable also, right? You're constrained by the GPT limits, right? Usage of GPT, right? GPT limits. So, for example, I have just a side aside. It finished the sim. It is. I just want to show you, then go back to the presentation. So So it went in, look at this. It is designed, it is not only has given a minutes of report, it is designed a technical report with introduction, methodology, key findings for the specific thing and the conclusion. So, so this is more useful. And to make it really more useful, what I've done is basically this is done in Streamlit. I can download this, right? So I can download it as a zip, and I can get basically right now I'm getting like I said like a report, right? If we open out the zip, I'll get a report. There, done, right? This is what people can read either the report or they can go back to the actual transcript and see the whole transcript, right? Okay, so that is the demo part. Let me go back to the slide. Okay, so now that that is like how is all this working, right? How was all those things working? And there was no ChatGPT window. There was no continue. There was no saying there's no self-prompting. So it's basically agents are talking to each other, right? So these are all autonomous agents. They have all been. I built a framework which will take in all these profiles of personas of this Dr. Innovations team, and they talk in a. I have implemented in a round robin fashion of speaking, but in code wise, I can give it any function for it to select the next speaker, and it will do it. Anything that you can write an algorithm for to speak, it will do it. So what is the future? What else can we do with it going forward? Is like you can do agents versus users, agents with autonomy, right? There is some reason and act framework. 1 second, my battery is running down. So there's a reason and act frameworks which are there, which can be used. And there are, especially LangChain, we can use agents with tools, right? These tools could be doing right now you can have tools for Google search. It can go search your databases. It can search or searching is one use case. You can, whatever you can think of, you can write a tool for it, right? You could probably write a tool for generating a blog, go do this and generate this blog for me, right? Or make me a WordPress page for me, it can do it. Especially with things like, we can also have computational agents. Like, we have plugins in ChatGPT for Wolfram Alpha, where you can do math problems. It can be used something called as program-aided language models, PAL models. So, and in the end, what you can do, and there are things in place right now which are called as societal agents, right? Where you can have a bunch of agents talking to each other and coming up with some agency to create, create value, right? So think in terms of like an ant colony. How so each agent doesn't have to be smart, fully smart. They can be niche. They can be specific, and there is no limit to the number of agents I can run. So once you build the framework, it's just compute, right? And it's just okay with ChatGPT. You have some rate limits. For example, if I run my Dr. Innovation with ChatGPT 4, I run into rate limits, API rate limits. But what if I have Llama 2 on my own server? I have no rate limits, right? So we can go ahead and do it. So my 2 cents to this is to push innovation algebra further down the line and to make it, people to use it without knowing anything about innovation algebra or super prompts or ChatGPT or nothing, is to have an agent first approach. We are talking now about AI first approach. We have to move towards agent first approach. AI should disappear. For example, I have specialized agents, right? I have general agents and I have a technical report writer agent. I have a director agent that moderates the agents. Tools and toolkits are the next frontier. It is only limited by our imagination and what we can create as tools. And then there is meta agent frameworks. There is a meta agent framework which manages the agents, all right? So agents on top of agents. So this is like the reason why I think this is, and I've seen this earlier in my work when I was in MySpace doing network effects and things in my earlier. Most value is created by a second order and third order interactions, right? It's called emergent behavior, right? It's emergent behavior. So what is unique or what is innovative is what comes through second and third order emergent behavior. What we are seeing in ChatGPT now is first order, maybe to a certain extent, with super prompts to a second order kind of emergent behavior. But the real novelty and innovation comes from the more they interact and the more they feed off each other and the more they are forced to come up with new things, putting in an environment, you'll be surprised how agent societies come up with things. There is a framework called Camel, which has come up with the agent society concept, where they have run a village with agents, and they are like, they're dating each other. They go for Valentine's Day parties. They go for each other's homes. It's like a total society, and it's emergent behavior. Nobody has programmed them to do it, right? So, so that is my key point here is like, agent-based frameworks to run the super prompts of IA, so that we go from tools to super prompts to solutions, and where AI disappears and only the business value and the value creation emerges out of these things. For example, the idea of, hey, this is too shallow. I don't want general information. I want an expert information, can only happen at a higher order level of interactions. And actually, thanks to Hannes Innovation Algebra for making this jump possible. Otherwise, I would never have made this jump to agentic based things without having this intermediary evolutionary step of super prompts and the work that Hannes has done. So thank you, Hannes. So a little about me. I have founded 2 companies which are alive today. I've founded other companies which are no longer exist. So one is a consulting company, other is a fintech company based on advanced machine learning for financial time series. So there is a Google Forms here. If someone is interested in making agents and agent frameworks for your specific domain, is something I would like to see more use cases about things. We can't build a general purpose framework. We need to be a little bit specific. For example, this is based on Dr. Innovation, because Dr. Innovation was a moderator, so I have a director agent. There could be other places where it could only be all of them talking to each other without any director. So there are multiple buckets of things that you can do, right? So that's it from me. I will stop share. I am open for questions.
Hey, Sai, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's also cool to connect with you after so many years. We actually worked together for a while, about designing software and stuff at Autodesk. Thanks for the praise, but I also want to pass that on to a lot of other people that help on this project, right? It's really, a lot of people have discovered like little bits of the whole thing. And if we put it all together, it's sort of just, I don't know, it's even hard to explain how it all happened. And funny enough, AI is playing a massive role in creating these new prompts, right? I don't know. Yes. That's actually the idea of meta prompting. So the prompts are actually creating other prompts is very fundamental to a lot of advances. The AIs are really improving themselves. And this is actually one of the things I would like to do in the future, is to have a workshop on meta prompting. Of course, it's, for the really pros, and see how that works. So
so that's where you can go from your meta prompting to meta agent.
Agents writing prompts, right? It's going to be a weird world. So I want to thank our speakers. It's not every day that you get people that spend so much time into thinking about educating others about innovation and spending time actually making beautiful slides and stuff like that. I know we all had help from AI, but still I appreciated you doing it. We want to have a really high quality professional community, so I appreciate that. I also want to ask people or invite them to come involved, help with this project, and also to reach out to me via LinkedIn and other methods to actually have more interesting conversations like this, right? The community is small, but we want to grow it. So anyway, so now is the sort of open part of the conversation, and it's until the last man drops here. So it's free for all. You can push your own agenda, ask questions, do whatever you want. This is the fun bit of the meeting. Normally this goes on for a long time. So I don't know, anyone wants to make a comment or start off the conversation? I will be mostly disappearing into the background and doing a little bit of moderation, so we'll see just what happens. So hey Natalia, I apologize for leaving you at the front door there. Because we ran out of Zoom slots, you know, it was a bit of a disaster, but anyway, so I hope the waiting list will come.
No, I'm here with my friend Jan, who is actually genius. He's a theoretical physicist, and he's like a pioneer of AI in Poland, but he's too shy to say that by himself. So I can recommend talking to Jan.
Hi guys, it's a pleasure to
Yeah.
listen to all of your webinars. Sorry for looking for my computer, but I'm
He was
actually
already-
developing a new idea that came to me yesterday, and well,
He got inspired. He got
Yeah.
inspired by today's talk, so he already started like programming. So
Yeah,
Great. Well, welcome
yeah.
to the community. We need physicists. We already have a neuroscientist, Natalia.
Yeah, but he's a top theoretical physicist. That's like one step higher from
Oh,
neuroscience.
okay, good. So we want to use AI to find out how the universe works, you know.
well, my end goal was actually using AI to investigate quantum gravity, but they didn't give me funding for that, so I turned to industry.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, Jan, I think he will contact you at some point because he has some ideas for a nice talk. So
Yes,
I
would
hope-
love that. So
Yeah, but at first I have to develop, you know, like I
Yeah.
have this new idea and it actually works, which is weird that after one day you can make a working prototype, but well,
right.
I have to actually investigate more.
So Jan, my advice would be is to share early. I was surprised. Once you share stuff, even though it's totally half-baked, you find the most interesting people that can
Yeah.
help you with your stuff. And it just, you know, I would not have found CB and, you know, Larry and all of these guys if I didn't share my half-baked ideas. And, you know, it's just, I'm so thankful for having a community, right? And so-
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Like, this is the people you want to pick.
Yeah.
Like, this is the people. I made all the way to Silicon Valley to find these people. Just do it, right? Like,
yeah.
I just came with a telescope to observe stars here in the Netherlands because apparently there is a little less light pollution here, and yeah, so we are hoping for Saturn tonight, hopefully.
yeah, we have a telescope from Jan, and we are going to make observations. But he's very deep into AI, so I thought, you know, he should join today. And
Yeah,
I should hook you up, like, so that you talk in person. But
yeah.
I think it's a good match. It's a good match. Thank you so much for the talks. I'm really grateful, and I learned a lot today. So thank you so much.
I actually got a new ideas for the project. I got inspired yesterday.
Yeah. So one of the things that people should be aware is there are a lot of prompts that people have developed, and there's so much stuff sitting in the lab that we're just having, because the AI is essentially developing the stuff themselves now, that we just don't know how to get it out fast enough, right? Like how to do the personas and all this stuff. And stuff that I've discovered that probably, I don't know, nobody knows about it. I can't do anything with it because I'm doing other things or focusing on particular things. So please ask. right? What is there where I can help? I'm happy to share stuff ethically. Unfortunately, some of the prompts have gotten so good now that they are a little bit dangerous in some areas. Like if you're in the educational fields, some of the prompts, are just like too good. I mean, turn it in and these tools don't even detect it anymore that it's AI written. So so we have to be ethical about doing this stuff, but I think giving tools like this to innovators is how we're gonna help build a better world, right? We need more innovators. We need to teach them, we need to educate them, get them access to tools, important stuff. So
I actually teach a lot, so yeah, I do this a lot. Yeah.
All right. I think it's good if you just talk after
yeah,
this.
we will. Yeah,
As,
absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah, yes, funny. Go ahead.
Yeah, Hans, this is funny. I joined a bit late, but it was a wonderful session. It's close to midnight here in India, so I'm not switching on my video at this point. But nevertheless, there's and it's also past my dinner time, so I have to digest a lot of stuff that I just you actually put it in my plate today. So I'll go back, see the recording, and also figure out a way in which I can contribute to the community and see how we can connect, circle back, and do a few things here in India. And my big shout out to Sai, who's connected both of us, Hans. And thank you, Sai. This is cool stuff.
Thank you.
hey, Funny, so much though, just so you know, Funny Padamara is in Hyderabad. He's super connected in the startup community and the innovation community in India. And he was so kind to let people know about this project. Also, I think a longtime friend of Sai. Funny, thank you so much, but you also caused a lot of problems in the sense that we ran out of Zoom slots for this meeting. Everyone wanted to be in. Soon we'll have to have like like those fancy restaurants here. Click now and subscribe right now to get into the meeting. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's so hard to reach the right people. And I always appreciate the super connectors that are willing to do this. I mean, thank you so much. Let me know however I can help you.
Yeah, Hans, happy to hustle around for you in India here. We'll keep doing it. But I guess you guys can write back to those folks who had registered but couldn't come into the session about the interesting things that are going on within IA, so that they can be smaller groups and sessions that you can continue to host for those folks who are interested.
Yeah, the mailing list has grown quite a lot, and we will be start posting more to it. So
Funny, can you just go over some of the groups? I did not do a good job when Hannes asked me this question about which groups have you reached out to. I said a few, but I didn't do justice to it. Just high level.
Oh, that's my secret sauce. Why will I let it go? But anyways, just to give it a high level, Hans, I think so. There is a closed group called the Hyderabad FinTech Forum. So that's one area where a lot of company CEOs and product guys from FinTech space, they're connected up there. That's one group. And there is a startup community called T-Hub within in Hyderabad, which is also one of the largest startup ecosystem, which is thriving. So that's one place where I probably had sent out. And there is, I think, a bunch of software companies in a particular group, the SMEs, the small mid-sized companies together. I saw a few CEOs. I think some of them are still spending their Friday evening, here. I see AdventureX. Some of those guys are still here. Thanks for those who joined and who are still here. But yeah, Hyderabad is a big place. We can always take you different communities here.
Thanks, Ani. One thing that I considered is, also moving the time slot a little bit around so that it's true global. So I think it's only fair to disadvantage the people in Silicon Valley a little bit by making it earlier, maybe at 8 a.m. or even 7 a.m., which would cover more of the world. But I think, we'll probably have to pick another time to get the Australians in. So
That's actually not a super big problem, Hans, to be solved, because most of the companies in India understand and they work with the US time zones all the time. You know that a lot of US work is Bangalore in India, isn't it? So we understand the time zone way of working.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah, probably about half an hour, 40 minutes prior could really be more useful for them.
Okay. Thanks for that.
And yeah, and the second part I heard from some of the folks who are still interested is this being a Friday night, right? So, it's end of the week for some of them. So
Yeah.
probably midweek, middle of the week could be a better choice for them.
Good point. Yeah.
Nevertheless, cool stuff. I think, the community is really awesome. So thanks for introducing Sai. And we'll stay in touch, Hans.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Fani.
And I'll hop off. Thanks, guys. See you along.
Thanks, Fani. See you soon. So, one other reason, some people are staying still around, so let's see why. So, Daniel Borek, why are you here? So,
hey, hello.
Hi, Daniel.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So I am here because Natalia brought me here. So she invited me here. And yeah, it was interesting to me to listen to these ideas and really nice talks. I like them a lot. And just now I have some some ideas. I mean, for discussion, maybe we could even discuss now. So I am also kind of physicist by training, and now I am doing neuroimaging, PhD like cognitive psychology, but it's basically data analysis. So it's not that AI or like a much like cognitive stuff, but it's more like techniques for better extracting features from data. Yeah, but now I'm also interested in this, let's say, a new world of machine learning and this agents, artificial agent. So, but just when we start discussing now, I have this, let's say, connection. When you look for agents, like when you create agent personas in this large language model, did you already thought about reinforcement learning and this how you could combine with that, or it's something that I mean, because we didn't talk about this today, but maybe it's so obvious, so you already have this, really deep. When you AI creating, AI prompts, so it's basically this. So
basically what happened is I discovered the core of innovation algebra to make, think of it as like little strategies. And if you ask the AI correctly, they would put it together in like plans to actually solve a problem. So like, we're going to do this and that and so on. It's just a particular way of prompting. It's called a GPT framework. I didn't really particularly think about it from a persona perspective until Larry, a guy I collaborate with, he's actually in Chiang Mai in Thailand, who's a linguist. He said, well, this is sort of how language works. And if you can use this, you can actually build personas on it. And he started building, he teaches, he started building a persona for teaching. And I also did a persona for storytelling using the same techniques that I used, but for a completely different purpose. And funny enough, it worked really well. It worked much better than everything else. So we kept on working together. I discovered some stuff, he discovered, we put it together, and we created, I would say he created the first few really high definition personas. It took a lot of work to create initial personas. And then we discovered you can use AI to add things to the persona, and then it went much faster. And then we figured out you can take one persona, ask the AI to turn it into a different persona. You could specialize personas, and the whole idea of meta prompting started. And before we know it, we suddenly had 50 personas. And in fact, I generate personas regularly now for some of my things on the fly, just when I need it. And the personas are getting more and more complicated and more in depth and more specialized, and bigger, right? They get bigger and bigger, and they actually get better and better. They actually evaluate themselves. So you can score them like a storyteller. You can say this version is scores itself. How well does it do stories? And it gets better. So our work has mostly been about combining and changing personas and putting them together in interesting ways, and not even talking about reinforcement learning or anything of this. It's just in the prompting stage. Yeah.
But what I want to say, it's maybe I hope like too soon to this word, because you want these personas to learn. I mean, now it's like there's some limitation. There's like the prompt length, and then but now it's like the
yes. So actually,
isotropic, there's much longer, and it will change. There's development in that.
So I found it's with Dr. I, the thing I'm working on, that I can actually ask Dr. I to extend its own algebra on the fly. So literally you're talking about a particular topic, and then you ask it, please specialize yourself into a different topic. Like, for example, at this time, I want you to be a writer for train stories, right? About how you travel through Europe or something. And then it comes up with new strategies just to do that, uses its existing strategies. So let's say it starts with 200 strategies, it would add like 15 or 20 for that, and would actually start using it immediately. Now, what's interesting about that is ChatGPT is very happy to do that through the API. The prompts are too complicated to run through the user interface, but Claude refuses to extend its own strategies. It doesn't want to improve. So even when you tell it, it's okay. So the systems behave in slightly weird ways, but at least we have GPT-4 that can actually improve itself. It just doesn't sort of know which direction to improve it. You have to tell it, right? So.
Because what I may like kind of rewind this my like path. Why I'm asking this, because you know about this like the Stanford University realized this small wheel model.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
So I mean but those persona you want to, I mean, you're creating now, but maybe in the future, I mean, maybe not now because there are some limitation, but when the model will have longer history and like thinking in, I don't know, maybe next year, maybe 2 years, maybe never, but if we've like extended like to just to like learning, I mean, there's this because what is kind of human, and in the sense that or animal agent, they learn, they have feedback, they have control. And then I think this is something that it's still, when we don't implement this kind of into the models, when we don't have like kind of substitute of it, like that is like actually what reinforcement learning is doing, but without the capacities of large language models. So then if you could combine this both, then you have much more powerful models and agents. But this may be more like future. So just this was like
actually more... it's not crazy. It's happening now.
Yes, it's happening now. But to which to what extent, and what I mean.
Yeah.
With the tools that we are now, without going really coding.
So one of the things that really made a big difference is to think about the knowledge frontier, right? The circle where knowledge is in, and we're pushing it bigger. And you have several problems. You need to know, are you inside the circle or you're pushing out? And maybe like, I don't know, quantum teleportation is at level 10, you know, fire is at level 1, right? Or minus 10, and let's say 0 is on the circle, minus 10 to plus 10. The funny thing is, if you give an idea to ChatGPT, it can score it and say, this is really far in the future. It will assign a score from minus 10 to plus 10 with 0 on the knowledge frontier. So I worked, and I've actually solved it to try and convince it to work beyond the knowledge frontier. It's a very weird way of prompting, but it's also based on innovation algebra. So now you start asking it to predict the future, and you ask it to work in a particular range. You can say, like, listen, I want to work in the far future, a range plus 8 to plus 10, and come up with ideas and speculate what you would need to actually get there. Or you can, if you just want to do real product innovation, like you can just say, take a look at the +1 to like 2 or so, and where do you need to work to actually make these things work? And the funny thing about it is ChatGPT and Claude are extremely comfortable doing this type of stuff with using strategies and rules that if I as a human look at them, I don't understand anymore why they work and why it does it what it does. So this is some of the more what I call the exotic personalities. If you know how to use innovation in algebra, you can invent exotic personas that don't behave in a normal way. I mean, already innovation algebra itself, its core, is foreign to how humans think. It's just much more logical and structured. Auto prompt, alpha prompt is even more foreign. And if you start thinking about it, designing really weird personas using these techniques, we just don't know what's going to happen. Like, I would not have imagined that you can even do this type of stuff, but it is possible today. And actually, Dr. I, the thing I'm having, has a whole bunch of strategies to reason about the future, which you can use for all sorts of crazy stuff. I've been using it to write science fiction. It comes up with the most beautiful story, but I also, you know, product ideas and so on. So yeah, there's all this stuff that sort of people have discovered, but nobody's really talking about yet. And I think the interesting thing is just what happens when you throw it out in the world, you know, what's going to happen to it, right? So.
Thanks. But I'm really, now I'm thinking, without even really going really deep, it's possible to, let's say, simulate, like, because you actually do this conversation is a simulation of like learning between these different agent, but even like especially like for adding this as a kind of, you know, like iterating. I don't know, you probably doing this.
So actually there is a scenario. So let's say you're in the research and you really want to push the knowledge frontier, right? How can you convince ChatGPT to actually focus on the knowledge frontier? There's a scenario called the 2 professors scenario. The idea is you tell ChatGPT, there's 2 professors, one went on vacation, he's a little bit out of date, and he's coming back, and he asked the other professor what has changed in the area. So you ask it, do me a +1 update. It then focuses it just on that area. And I've used that strategy. It was actually discussed in the last meeting on brain simming. I didn't go into super detail about it, but if you use the 2 professors, you can force it to work on the knowledge frontier. And I've used these 2 professors updating each other to get the brainstorm going, and they actually write technical papers together. So I've written some papers on some really, I forgot what the topic was, with the help of these 2 professors updating each other, but through a trick to convince on the knowledge frontier. And now, of course, you can ask, okay, suppose I have a professor that time travels from the future. Can I simulate that and ask him to update what the future is? And you think, okay, that's a nutty scenario. You can do this literally today with the prompts you have access today. You can design a prompt to using alpha prompt or something other to have the time traveler and have a conversation with him. I mean, and it wouldn't take you much time. It's like a morning's work. So, you know.
I have another prompt for you, like reviewer too. So
Yeah.
like the famous critic of the work, and I mean you probably try this, but it's as joke, like this you have that someone always criticize the publication.
Yes, there is actually the professor in the brain sim is programmed to be the most irritating professor ever. He always tells you somebody else has done this. I hate that guy.
Mhm.
I talk to him, he always says, yeah, it's a bad idea. And I also assimilated Murphy's Law. So they, in the simulation, in the brain simulation, whatever they experiment on fails. You can set the percentage. So they have to deal with adversity. So if you're more interested in this topic for really exotic simulations, the last meetup has cover some of that topics and all of the interesting things we've discovered there. But you can invent these things when you know how to do it, and I hope people will invent lots of crazy stuff, right? We've tried also create very polite personas that talking to each other. They're not very innovative. They're just nice to each other, right? So they say, oh yeah, I like you. But if you have them fight over stuff, like in an academic environment where it's a really combat, right? Combat of ideas. They come up with ideas. So just create these scenarios and simulate them. And throw in the futurist and the time traveler and just see what happens, right?
Yeah, a challenge, Hannes, I think is because I try to experiment with that as well. Can you teach them? Can they learn? They don't. The problem is the personas that you're able to craft don't retain the information. You don't have a mechanism to save it somewhere. That seems to be the big constraint. You start new, or if you get to a long chat, like you pointed out before, they forget the beginning part, and now they're learning more, but they're forgetting at the same time, which is the real problem.
So I have in the agent framework that I've written, that's exactly the problem that I face too. Is to have external memory, right? It's like store the memory in a vector database or other places where you give it the memory that you want. You can even selectively choose which memory to be given to it, right? Right now, it's all held in memory of ChatGPT context window, and you limit yourself to the token context length.
Actually, I invented a new language called AI Speak, which is sort of, imagine two AIs are talking to each other. How would they do it? Well, they wouldn't talk like humans. You're not going to be saying, hey, how do you do it? Or, all the flowery stuff we put in our language. They would just compress it to to the limit, We have Shannon to thank us for how many entropy is here, how many bits is in this conversation. So AI Speak is a prompt that can take very long documents and compress it into a language that an AI would understand. Humans can sort of understand it, but sometimes it just uses words that you wouldn't use. But you can, I'm happy to share AI Speak with people. It tends to focus on particularly important parts of the conversation and then just compresses it. The compression ratios are like 5 to 10x, right? So you can take a long conversation and just turn it into AI Speak. And I would be happy if somebody takes that to the next level. So
I will reach out to you, Hannes, because I am hitting that that limit where we can store even the AI Speak and have like a translator, from AI Speak to human to AI. We should be able to do that language.
Well, it's actually humans can sort of read it. It's just it's not how humans communicate.
Right.
Right.
It's like a different language.
So
it's
that,
like
I think that probably is something what ChatGPT does too. Just knowing how the API works in the public thing, they must have some version of the AI Speak too, right? And the question is, what is the most compact way to compress stuff, right? Actually, you can do crazy stuff. You should try it. Take one of the long prompts I have, run it through a tool that scrambles all the lines of the text and see what the AI does with it. It still works.
Still works. Wow.
It still works. Humans just communicate. We assume that we know how to talk to an AI. We actually have no idea. they are just behaving in a different way. And I think that's the interesting thing. If you literally just take a prompt, scramble, randomize the lines of text and remove parts of it, it likely would still work if you use some of the innovation algebra techniques to make it work. Which means that you can take, actually, I've taken like 2 prompts, scrambled them, thrown them together into one prompt, and then asked the AI, you know, what is this about? And it says, well, there's 2 personas here, and this is what A and B does. It's just a new world that people, you just have to be willing to experiment. And I think, as I mentioned before, there are just so many crazy ideas that people are doing that you cannot even explore them. I cannot explore them all. I need to pass them to other people, and hopefully they would come up with some more crazy stuff, right? It's just literally everyone is at the same level here. The prompt engineers like Larry and myself, we've just doing it for 2 months, right? Means that you're not that far behind, you know. If you want to experiment, good time to do it, right? You will discover the weirdest stuff. So, in fact, I have so many prompts now, I don't know what to do with them. I just,
See, that is exactly, you got this power to create any prompt that you want. The issue that we run into is what domain specific problem are we solving?
Yes. So if you're, for
Mhm.
example, interested in rapid ideation, so I have prompts to do rapidly create ideas on different levels of the knowledge frontier. So I take a topic like, let's say, water quality in Africa, you know, it's a big issue in Africa. The thing comes up with 100 ideas that are great, right? On policies and all sorts of stuff that, you know, somebody could probably work out. But it's 100 ideas. I have thousands of them lying around. I don't know. The only way you can do is hope somebody would take them and do something with it. It's not like ideas are quickly becoming just zero, right? It's the only thing you have is you need agency. You know, you need
Agents.
Yeah, you need, well, agents. I mean, agency, I mean, like, let's say
Action in the real world.
This AI creates a database of 1 million ideas. Somebody needs to do something with it. You need to convince people to actually do something. It's a different problem, right? So I think it's like, okay, AI is going to just blow through the innovation, the knowledge frontier, and just innovate like crazy, but we're still going to be exactly where we are today. We think it's valuable to have an idea. It's actually nothing to have the idea with AI. We need people to actually take the ideas and do something with it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking too, in terms of at a rudimentary level, is take this, the outputs from this and integrate it with tools and toolkits, which today ChatGPT can do very well in terms of running a tool based on a language. Yep. I think
Just I have crazy idea, maybe not so crazy during this this conversation, because if we focus on like memory of individual agent, it will not work. But if you have like the kind of generation of agents and like and the like children and the kind of like, and they pass some prompt for another children, and you could run this, I mean, on your own, and maybe you have some, you know, external kind of check how good this, like, this really reinforcement learning. I mean, I think that people doing like that. So then you don't, even now with short prompt, you could still have, let's say, and then you could get like really weird agents, but really efficient in what they're doing. So maybe it's an interesting avenue to.
It's sort of like try and create like crazy personalities, like schizophrenics or something or other, right? Or some psychological principles, and see if they would innovate different than humans, right? For example.
Yes. But what I mean to really have a children of children, like
thousands of
generations,
genetic
like
programming, essentially, right?
Yes,
totally.
Yes. The thing that you're talking about, it was figuring it out, new strategies and new things. Genetic programming does like in a like a simple game of hitting the blocks at the top. It figured out a strategy to which a human would not figure out, would not do it. So it is, we implement even genetic programming kind of a things into our agents and into our prompts, it could create much more powerful stuff. I think Adventure Ali wants to speak. I think
you can just speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Don't raise your hand.
It's open. Yeah, you don't need to.
Right. That actually was a very insightful conversation. I just wanted to tell you guys a little about where I'm coming from and how we are trying to use AI. So I majorly work with the marginalized communities in South India, and we have government residential schools for them. And it's been about 9 years since we've been working with them, and we've been trying to run rapid skilling boot camps, which means like we understand that we can't switch it around with the state curriculum much. So we use like the summer and winter vacations to run different types of boot camps in art and theater and coding, in designing and building drones, and journalism, right? So we try and use the university folks within India to try and bring more opportunities to these communities. Now, what we want to do is we genuinely believe that AI can cause like a huge jump for the children from these communities, because they're very recently getting access to digital tools, and a lot of them are just getting internet connectivity. So what we want to do is take AI to these streets and teach the teachers a couple of tools so that they can use it in their classrooms and eventually also pass those skills to the kids. And how we want to do that is create like profiles for students, have like an individual profile for each one of them, and create archetypes in the future where they can customize learning experiences to each classroom. And we want to use AI to generate more ideas to as to how to build and bridge these gaps. And how we actually want to measure these gaps is, say, for example, if you're using first world countries as an example, say students from Sweden, or students from Finland, or students from the US or Germany, we want to measure the skills and opportunities that they have at particular ages. Like say if students of up to class 13, they attend camps, what kind of camps, what kind of opportunities do they have inside their school, outside the schools, in terms of clubs instead of council activities and stuff. And we want to create a benchmark using which we want to bridge that gap and design interventions that could replicate those opportunities in Indian schools, right? So even they have opportunities in their communities. And the schools I'm talking about are in extreme remote locations, right? Nobody even goes there. And most of the schools that get maximum attention are the ones that are closer to the city. So we've been working with about 1,000 schools now, and we've trained about 225,000 children over the last 10 years, and we see them taking up opportunities in university and overall building more aspiration in the communities. So we want to build like role models within the community who can achieve more. And we believe that will cause a ripple effect, right? So now we'd love to like learn more and like also conduct or collaborate and run any kind of field experiments or data that you'd like from the field to help us build like these personas and archetypes for the community in India. So that can also aid not only in designing better solutions, but also it can eventually help design policy for them as well.
Right. So I think it's amazing the stuff you're doing. And I've also worked in education. And my belief is that innovation could be like algebra, right? It's literally, you teach people how to innovate with the help of AI, and you're not even getting tired doing it. It's just, I would say a large part of innovation, at least the ideation and solving problems and stuff like that, even the really hard problems in areas that you don't even know about, that you don't even know that you can work on it, might be enabled by AI. And
Yep.
And so imagine you're now in a community where there's, I don't know, just extreme water pollution or something like this, and you want to find a solution to this, a policy or a technology or something or other. The people that are in that situation would be able to use AI to come up with ideas and even put their situations in. It's like, listen, you know, we can't do this or that or whatever, and the system would help them come up with ideas, and the people would have the agency in that community to actually solve this problem, right?
True. We actually tried a simple activity. What we did was we understand the scope and the capacity for it doing to do incredible things, but we also wanted to build it as a mindset. So we recently introduced this entire charter within the clubs called entrepreneurship. And we gave access to kids. We gave them ChatGPT and we gave them access to Midjourney. And out of the blue, communities which never thought about aspiring to start their own businesses, because there are very few examples, most of the parents of these communities are either farmers or daily wage laborers themselves. So these kids have come forward wanting to start businesses based on the needs of the community. And also now we're able to like create a business plan, a marketing plan, and everything that's required to build like a basic pitch to get you like seed funding. Students who are 16 years old were capable of doing it with just 2 days of ChatGPT and some training on how you use it and how to build prompts. So
Yes.
we're trying to experiment that and we're trying to take it wider and making ChatGPT like a tool for these children. Additionally, we'd love to know what other tools that we could use, and today's session actually brought a lot of those forward.
Yes, I would love to catch up with you offline and talk to you about it, but I have the innovation algebra prompt can take a very crazy low detail specification of a problem and work it through straight to a pitch for a VC or an investor or for a community, or even explaining to a community how to do it. So I've taken it from invent a crazy toy or a crazy product to real products, and these case studies exist, and the system is powerful enough to actually guide the user to actually do all these things, apply techniques that most people in business school are afraid to actually use because they're so complicated. It just applies it because it knows how to do it. So you can take really any idea and develop it into something. As I said, ideation and innovation is just going to be just accessible to everyone, and it is today. I mean, if you look at the case studies, you can see this stuff. The problem, I think, is now it's hidden behind this $20 paywall, right? You need ChatGPT, you need the advanced things, but it doesn't need to be like that. We can totally assume building systems where we have sponsors that actually pay for the compute, where the students are not burdened with this, and the communities don't have to worry about it, and the innovators will just naturally start using it in that community. And that is how you change the world, right? You give a person that never imagined to be an innovator or entrepreneur the capability of becoming that at zero cost, right? I mean, there's still computers and all that stuff you would need, but you know, you could also imagine just sending an email to Dr. Innovation and saying, hey, to size systems, like, hey, you know, we want to work on this, you know, tell me something, or sending a text message or something on it. Right. You can just imagine driving the cost of innovation to zero, driving the creation of ideas and so on. And organizations like yours to take this and actually, because, you know, people are motivated to solve these problems or improve their lives or whatever, just to start running with it.
Yeah, so the constraints for innovations are going away. And the fundamental principle of innovation is like, which allows us to do it now, is innovation happens at the juncture of two different areas, right? So it is, if you are in one area itself, there's not much innovation that you can do. When it hits against a totally different domain or expertise, is where the new ideas take birth, right? So, and that's where these different personas talking to each other is creating the magic because of that reason.
Actually, I've put a lot of that stuff, the cross-domain stuff, into Dr. I. And so it's very good at coming up with ideas that are super novel. And some people have tried it in very exotic areas like international tax law. And it comes up with stuff that they look at and say, well, I don't know, I have to go ask some other expert if this is even possible, right? So it's sort of interesting to see that, okay, just freeze the imagination. And the problem is just getting it into enough people's hand and hoping that in communities there would be people actually running with it, right? The next generation of innovators that actually going to change the world, and distributing this innovation out of Silicon Valley, you know, into you know, what prevents somebody in your parts of India from doing this, or in Africa or whatever? I mean, that's the interesting bit. So.
I agree with you guys. I'm incredibly impressed with just the vibrancy of the startup ecosystem in India. It's fascinating. It's fascinating how just over the years, how even my Twitter feed is now, it's just mostly stuff that's coming out of India. And I think it was Adventure X. I'm not sure what your name is, sir, but it was, you know, to your point of, it actually like it makes me, you know, I think entrepreneurs who are closest to the problem, right, either through personal experience or through direct engagement with these communities, are like, they're in the best position to really understand these challenges and develop the best solutions. So there's something about, like, when we empower these marginalized communities, and then now the barrier and the cost to all of these incredible tools go down, like, aside to your point of like that intersection, to me is where all that magic is. So I think we're about to see some we're already seeing incredible things. We're about to see some amazing things coming out of India.
Yeah, and so imagine, and this is why I actually put access on the community aspect, access to entrepreneurship. If somebody gave you $10,000 in credits to use for ChatGPT 4, and you put up a server with, you know, that anyone can use from India in any of these communities to innovate using tools and whatever that we come up with, what is going to happen? I mean, we don't know. It's the mindset, it's the thinking that traditionally has been in the, I would say, the incubators, the entrepreneurial organizations, the thing where a kid that's 15-year-old never even imagined, doesn't even know what it is, but now has access to it and actually can do it probably even better, you know, with no preconceived mindset how it should be done. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we just don't know.
You know, what we believe might happen is it will accelerate achievement.
Right. It is always been that if you know it is possible, things happen. Like someone broke the 10-second mile or whatever the thing, right? It was holding for so long, and then once someone broke that barrier, there were 100 people who did it in the next 1 year or 2 years. It is our own mindset that this is not possible. Once you know it's possible, the floodgates open. So people don't do it because they self-limit. And that's why Silicon Valley is good, is because there is no limitation to failure, right? So failure is accepted. I lived and worked in Silicon Valley, and you live in the Asian countries. And the critical part for innovation is the ability to take failure, not to lose face. If you can do that, then anybody can innovate, in my opinion. It is a self-limiting behavior that, you know, what if I fail? And people are going to laugh at me or going to say I'm a failure, is stopping you from doing anything new, right? So that I found to be the key for doing new things, and this journey, IAS journey of doing, is going to accelerate that. You know, I don't even, this helps me even, you know, try out the ideas before I even go and present it to someone, right? Make it full-fledged, right? Otherwise there would be a block. Right? Yeah. Before I go out of my village to present it to my chief minister or whoever is the thing.
And so, yeah, totally. And that's actually why I added policies to it. So you can actually engage with the community as a 15-year-old, say like, listen, I think we should do this or whatever. But more concretely, what I've been thinking about is, okay, so there are a lot of good folks here. A lot of us are very fortunate. What we could do is just make a workshop, for example, on a topic that some people might be interested in, like meta prompting, you know, charge some small amount of money for it to raise some money and use that money to funnel it into free credits for people and open up ChatGPT 4 to the innovators in Africa, wherever, you know, you don't even know, India, wherever, to actually use it. But we just need some sponsorship, or we can raise the money ourselves and just build the tools to actually give it to people and see what would happen, right? So,
Right.
and work like with organizations like Adventure to give access, because now it's not accessible, right? It's not packaged that a 15-year-old kid could use it, right? And come up with a problem and solve, I don't know, it might be as simple as solving a problem in the family about education, or, you know, it could be a bigger problem with the community or village or whatever is, or it could be a world problem, right? So, and it would be great if there's all this success stories from all over the world. It's like, we are innovating, we are taking agency, we are changing the world.
A couple of examples that I want to share, Hannes, is just with the brain sim, Dr. Innovation brain sim, and the agent framework that I wrote using your prompts and things. Totally non-tech people, they said that, hey, we have a problem, and they have applied in 2 solutions, I would say. One guy, I mean, they can't be like, one is my brother who was in the meeting. He's like a chief administrative officer of a university. He has got issues with school. It's a liberal school. There's a drug problem. There's a risky sexual behavior problem. He said, hey, I told him about innovation algebra. I said, hey, can you do it? And I ran the sim. I ran the Dr. Innovation sim for him. And it actually generated, even at the limited, using GPT 3.5, it generated some things which I found to be, I'd never even heard of those kind of interventions or solutions, right? That is one. And the other one was, there's a friend of mine who is who runs a $100 million company in the US, services staff augmentation company. So he said, look, I want to approach my customers for, they are big utility companies, but I can't go and ask them for work. I have to go with a sales setup of saying, hey, this is the problem you have. This is what we can solve for you. Let's discuss. And he said, I am looking for generative AI guys. And we were sitting in a restaurant. He came down from US. We met for coffee. I was just finishing up the doctor's innovation brain sim. I opened it up and I said, let's put your case, let's put it here. And it actually generated a report for him saying that, you know, hey, electricity demand management. And it came up with a total expert opinion of what is it that he can take to his customers. So it's at both levels, at different levels, at administrative level, at a sales level, at a marketing level, at a social initiative level, like Adventure is doing. It's very useful. I mean, if you can package it into a tool and application and present it.
Nice. I'll tell you how, like, apart from the kids achieving better, there's one small example where students have used it to start a business. So they figured that aloe vera is one of the biggest produced substance or crop around their area. So now they've started aloe vera products. And they figured out that through ChatGPT, they figured that you can sell this not only to people as consumer products, but directly to factories that are doing multiple cosmetics, so directly from B2B. And then another kid, just for a fun business, figured out through all the restaurant orders, what kind of stuff are people ordering in the Tibetan community. And so that's another example. Using ChatGPT as an organization, we've evolved from not just working with one set of region, but also we experimented this with Tibetan kids in India, right? And ChatGPT actually translated our worksheets from English to Tibetan, which made designing stuff for them far more easier. So as an organization, we are evolving in our design capability as well. But also as a tool, it's giving students remarkable ideas. It's actually guiding them into a path that would help them get more information about their customers, their pain points, their problems, and all of it. So we're witnessing like a huge jump, right? Like how rural India didn't have landline, jumped straight to the mobile phone. So we're jumping to like learning the internet, but straight up jumping into AI and using the best possible tools to get our work done.
I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn and see how I can help on that. And I'm sure there are other people that would help too. So,
is it Adi, right? Your name is Adi, right? I don't see it in your
Yes.
name. Adi,
Yes.
are you in T-Hub?
Yes, I'm in T-Hub.
Okay, fine. Because good, we can connect. So we have, I think we need to talk to MSR also, the CEO of T-Hub. So I think something that we can work on definitely with Hannes and the community here.
Thanks
Sounds like a plan.
for sharing that. I really appreciate you coming it's the type of thing that I was hoping that would happen in this community. So good job. So we also have some other people that are still standing up in India, or not, maybe they're lying down on their bed. So Ashok, maybe you want to say hello and tell us what you're up to. Hello, Ashok. I hope you didn't fall asleep. Vinay, you want to say something? Say hello.
Oh,
Yeah,
Vinay,
yeah. Thanks.
yeah.
Really, thanks a lot for your valuable information, and especially from CB as well as Sai as well as you also. I've learned a lot today.
You're very welcome.
So
Thank you.
Vinay
Thank
is a person whom I mentored in his things from product to things. He's in digital marketing, so I wanted him here to listen to Tammy, and he got a lot of information from CB's presentation too. So it's good.
Shiva, you want to? I think we talked earlier. So
yeah, Hannes. Yeah, really, it is a very nice session. I have learned so many things, and thank you to each and every speaker. And I think this information will be helpful for me for my business.
thank you. Really
Thank
happy.
you. Thank you.
So James already, I think, said he wants to just lurk. So he's hanging out the Hacker Dojo. Thanks, Jim, for joining us.
I need to go, guys. Really great. Thanks, Hannes. Thanks, CB. Briscoe is not, but yeah, we'll catch up soon. There's a lot more things, Hannes, that we need to talk.
Yeah. So I think, we're probably gonna call it a day here. It's we didn't make it quite to 3 hours. It's 2 hours 45 minutes or so, but that's a good time. So thank you again, guys, for doing all this stuff. It's really amazing. So I hope you enjoyed it too. It's really cool. I enjoyed it.
All right.
Thank
Good night,
you.
guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannes. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Very welcome.